Welcome to the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast, where you'll be guided on how to step up into your evolved woman,
design your dream life, and start living it. Let's get vibey.
Hey, Pretty Vibe Tribe. Welcome back to another episode of the Her Vibe is Pretty podcast. Mary, why don't you start us out with sharing what you are feeling vibey about this week?
Yes. So as I mentioned before we hopped on this call, I feel like with all of the stuff going on in the world, it does feel a little hard to have something that I'm feeling truly high vibe about. But one thing that Sarah, and you can go into more detail in this if you choose, but we were kind of also saying, and I want to share this here, that like, even when things feel heavy, when things feel very dark, if there's so much like unknowns in front of us, we've been going through this with COVID and the pandemic for the last several years. And now it's like, we're dealing with all of the stuff with the conflict in Ukraine, and it just feels very heavy. Mm-hmm. But just because things feel really heavy, it doesn't mean that you just want to lose sight of the silver linings, of the things that you are still feeling high vibe about, or the good things that surround you. So with that being said, I took a moment to kind of reflect, like what is bringing some light into my life right now. And there were two things that came to mind for me. So one is my morning gratitude practice. So my morning routine has been shifting a lot since Ava has been born. But now that she's like starting to make more sounds, we're doing like the out loud gratitude in the morning. And again, with all of this stuff going on in the world, it's like more important than ever to make time for that kind of practice. So we start our day where I'll feed her. And then, once she's done nursing, I'll say my gratitude list out loud. And it feels really good. Like it's a short and sweet morning routine, but it is making a difference in kind of setting the tone for the rest of my day. The other thing that I'm feeling high vibe about is like, I don't know if it's like spring in the air or what, but I am like feeling this, like, I don't even know how to put it into words, this like desire for less. Like I'm feeling that urge to like release, to let go, to declutter my physical space, to declutter my mind, and like just simplify and like kind of tune back into like that minimalist practice. Like, I don't even know if I've talked about this very much on the podcast, but I used to, like, when minimalism kind of became popular and like this trendy thing, and there was like the minimalist show that was like on Netflix, and there's like that one book, Marie Kondo. I actually never read that book, but like that was really popular. And I just like really love that vibe of like, simplify. What do you really need? And like, what do you really love? And like keeping the things that you love, releasing the things that are just like no longer serving you, no longer there for you. And so I'm getting that urge again, and it feels good. So I've been like slowly making my way around the house, like starting to put together like a donation bag of things that are still good and really quality, but just things that I'm not loving and giving the attention to like I need. So it's like spring cleaning or what, but I'm just, I've been feeling that desire lately, and it feels really good. So
how's the weather there? Is it like spring yet?
Not completely, but also it's been sunny, which makes
good.
A world of a difference. It's still been pretty cold. We've had a couple warmer days, but I actually think this week is supposed to be like in the 40s. So
wow. It's funny I asked you that, and at the time we're recording this, it's the very, very end of February. So you could say beginning of March. I don't know, being a Michigan girl, I don't think of spring until like April, May, maybe. So I don't know why I even asked that, but I think it's because I saw on somebody's story, the first signs of spring are coming or something like that. So I was curious.
I'm definitely getting those vibes. I think because Michigan, for those of you that don't know, in the winter is like very cloudy. We don't get very much sun during the winter. So we've been having sunny days, and goodness, it just makes a world of a difference. And I think that's
absolutely
like giving me the spring vibes.
I mean, this is literally why I chose to winter in Lisbon, Portugal, because I'm pretty sure Portugal is like one of the countries in the world that is known for how many sunny days they have. And it's true. Yeah. I've only seen rain once, which I shouldn't say that in a happy vibe, because apparently it's like a really bad thing that they haven't had a lot of rain. But today it's actually, maybe that's why I asked the question. It's definitely turning into spring here finally. So today was the first day I could walk around so comfortably without a jacket, which was really nice.
Oh, good.
But yeah, I've seen maybe 2 cloudy days since I've been here. It's insane.
Yeah, sunshine makes a world of a difference. So
Yeah.
I've been loving it. But
So
what
good.
have you been feeling vibey about?
Yes. So my breath of fresh air, that's what I'm going to call it. I love the analogy of like when you dive into deep waters, you have to come up for a breath of fresh air. So let's all take that analogy into our lives right now. And I would love for you guys to just start asking yourself that, like, what's my breath of fresh air? And give yourself permission to have that. And this actually goes hand in hand with our topic today. But my breath of fresh air is the fact that Zachary arrives to Lisbon on Saturday. So
Yay.
let's see, when you guys are listening to this, he will be here. So he gets here Saturday. We are going to Italy on Monday.
And staying in the creamiest Airbnb I've ever seen.
Literally the best Airbnb. I would not be mad if we just stayed in our Airbnb the whole time. It's so, so beautiful. And I'm really excited because this is definitely a trip that I've been manifesting for 2 years. Zach and I actually originally tried to plan a Europe trip the first winter we were dating, and COVID hit. So it didn't work out. And then we've tried to plan this Europe trip probably 3 times in our 2-year relationship, and it just fell through every time. So the fact that we finally get to do it is really, really exciting. Yeah, I'm just happy. I'm excited for him to be here, and definitely could use some extra loving right now. So can't wait. That's making me feel vibey.
Yay, I'm so excited for you guys. It's going to be so fun. And I'm going to continue to love to stalk your stories because Italy is one of my favorite places I've ever been to.
I love Italy. I'm excited to like show Zach. Zach loves to eat, like really loves to eat. So I'm excited to introduce him to Italian pizza and pasta and all the things. Maybe we'll even do a cooking class. I've always wanted to do that in Italy.
Ooh, Italy would be the perfect place to do that.
Yeah. All right. So now that we have our breath of fresh air, let's dive into our topic, which is working through tough situations. So Mary and I were chatting about what we wanted to talk about. And for both of us, the only thing that's on our hearts is everything that's happening in the world. So as of today, which I don't know what things are going to look like when this drops in 2 weeks, I feel like, or a week and a half, I feel like things are changing always, every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be listening to this a year, 2 years, 10 years later, even, I don't know. So as of right now, recently, Russia invaded Ukraine, and there's a lot of chaos in the entire world. So it's heavy. It's a lot. And Mary and I were chatting about how we could bring this up to into the podcast, but also give it a broader topic so that if you are somebody who's listening in a year from now or in 2 years from now or in 10 years from now, and this maybe isn't super active, which obviously that's what we're hoping for, it'll still be relevant for you. So we're just going to talk about working through tough situations. And we both decided that we were just going to bring one piece of advice here onto the show because, you know, this stuff is already really heavy. And I feel like both of us feel like giving you guys too much is just a bit overwhelming, and we are all already overwhelmed as it is. Mm-hmm. So we are both going to share our favorite piece of wisdom and advice that we are applying in this hard time and whenever we go through hard times in life in general, because we're human and yeah, it happens.
Exactly. Obviously there are very, very big traumatic things happening around the world, but with all of that happening, there are still the difficult situations we find ourselves in. Like,
right.
I have one of my best childhood friends, literally my bestie since kindergarten, had her dog pass away when they were doing surgery. And it's like, she's now having to deal with this loss personally, on top of everything else. Then you have people who are like going through breakups or loss of some sort, whether it's loss of a loved one or a pet or whatever. And so it's like, we're always going to have these tricky situations, these difficult situations we find ourselves in. And so, yeah, kind of narrowing it down into like one thing is so challenging for us because, Sarah and I just love to talk. We've got a million ideas, but that idea of simplifying it and making it something that you guys can really take action on like immediately is the goal for this episode. So narrowing it down, I came back to what my advice is for myself, or whenever I am trying to support a friend going through something sad, going through something difficult. And I call it coming back to the basics. And what that means to me is making sure that you are taking care of yourself and again, removing all of the fluff. So I keep it very simple and very straightforward. And so the things that I include are making sure that you are drinking lots of water, that you are hydrating yourself so that your body can work as efficiently as possible as it's dealing with these really heavy emotions, with the stress. I'm not a scientist. I will never, ever pretend to be, but I do know that when you are stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol into your system, which does your system no good. And so making sure that your body is working as efficiently as possible by staying very hydrated is like a really, really good thing to do.
Yeah.
The next is eating healthy foods, making sure that you are nourishing your body. So I know it's very easy, like when you're feeling stressed, when, things are tough, when you're like feeling like overwhelmed and you don't have time, it's very easy to like start to eat things that maybe aren't as nutritious for your body because they're quicker or they're snacking. Or I know sometimes this happens to me, like when I'm stressed, I lose my appetite and then I don't eat enough to nourish my body. So making sure that you're giving yourself like all that love, drinking lots of water, eating really healthy foods, getting lots of sleep, giving yourself that space to rest, not staying up binging Netflix shows all night long, but instead like giving your like 8:00, 9:00, like go to bed, like put your phone down, take away those distractions. And then the last two is move your body. For me, I always go to yoga. And I encourage you to try yoga if that's something you're interested, but maybe you like to do something else. You like to go to the gym, you like to go for walks, whatever it is, but like move your body, get your blood flowing, improve that circulation, because again, that's just going to help you process anything that you are emotionally going through. And then last but not least, do something good for your mental health. So you guys know we give a million ideas here on the podcast for your mental health, ways to reduce stress, breath work, meditation, yoga, but ultimately do whatever works for you. Do what sounds good. Give yourself that space to release that stress, to do something that makes you feel good, even when it might feel like everything around you is crumbling. So I call that coming back to the basics. So drinking water, eating healthy foods, getting lots of sleep, moving your body, and doing something good for your mental health.
So I feel like I want to take your idea a little bit deeper and talk about why the basics are so important and why it's so important to really give yourself all of that, is because like if you want to be of service to the world right now, which a lot of humans do, it's like, how can I help? How can I make the situation better? Not only for those directly impacted, but for my family. Obviously, there's a lot of fear right now circulating about a potential world war. Like there's just like a lot out there. So if you want to give back to the world and the ones that you love, you have to be able to do that. And if you're not giving yourself the mind, body, and soul nourishment that you need, you're going to end up being depleted and you're not going to be able to give to the world at all. You're not going to be able to take care of the ones that you love and keep your kids calm and your husband calm and your loved ones, your parents. Like you're not going to be able to help anybody if you're not helping yourself. So I feel like that's why that's so important, so that you can actually like continuing to do you and put yourself first and nourish your mind, body, soul is so important, so that you can actually help the world be solution oriented right now. Because if you're not doing any of those things, It's so easy to get stuck in the chaos and the fear and the sadness and the worry and the anxiety, all the things, which what good are you then when you're just like, sitting stuck in all of that?
Right. And I feel like I know for me, a moment that stands out in my mind where I applied this and it made like truly the biggest difference was when I was going through the process of quitting my job to start my own business. And even though that is a really good, exciting thing, it was still a very scary, tough decision and transition to go through. And I just remember it like clicked in my mind where I was like, I take such good care of myself when life is good, when things are going smooth, when everything's like happy and good and hey, it's when that stress and overwhelm start to kick in. It's when something feels very heavy, very stressed, when there are things and situations around the world that, are happening around you and you feel like you have no control or, you want to help and you're just like, aren't sure what to do. Like that's a very heavy feeling. And when you're going through those tough times, that's when it is more important than ever and also harder than ever to do these things.
Yeah.
And I remember like that dawned on me where I was like, I'm so good at all this. Why does it feel so difficult now? And I know for me, like I literally had to like take out a piece of paper and like make a list of like all of those things I just mentioned. And then on the top of the list, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like a checklist. Make
Well,
sure I'm doing these things every
yeah,
day because I was losing sight of so much. I was so
totally.
caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
And it was taking away from, like I say, these like basics, these things that are so important and make such a difference. But you can let them, it's so easy to let them like fall to the wayside when life feels heavy.
I was literally just talking to a client about this morning. I was like, it is easy to be happy and to be good when life is good. Everybody can do it and everybody does it. You are tested. Your growth and expansion and soul is really tested in the void when the things are hard. When you are hanging out in that space of I am where I am now and I'm not where I want to be. There's a place that I want to be, but I'm like in the void right now. When life feels hard, that's like the only time that you can actually show yourself what you're made of. And that's where the most growth and expansion happens. It's so easy to be happy when life is good and when things are good. Like you are not challenged at all and things are just flowing. It's in the void that you can really show yourself what you're made of and tap into your inner personal power. Let that shine through, which is going to upgrade you as a human and make the next challenge easier to flow through. And like, I can so speak to that in general, which I'm going to give my tip because it kind of goes along with what I'm about to say. Obviously, like as of now, we've gone through a lot as a society. The world has gone through a lot in the past couple of years, and watching how I'm flowing through this specific challenge compared to the last few, I'm just like, it's worlds difference. Like I feel so much more in my power. I feel so much more capable of feeling and processing and releasing and helping the world and serving and being a leader and helping others at this time. I did not feel like this in the past couple. Like I felt very helpless and very like in my shit in the past couple of world challenges. And I say that I felt that way, but I also like realized everything we're talking about now, that this is my chance to step into that personal power. And so I feel like as you do this, as you practice this, you grow, you evolve, and it makes future challenges easier to flow through.
Right. And so that is another really good point that you make that I want to point out too, about like, it's easy to do these things when times are good. And it's more difficult when times feel heavy and tough, but that's why we keep practicing. Like, that's why when like life's good, you don't just like stop doing these practices. You need to keep doing them because you become better and better. You're building that skill so that when something really challenging does come up, which like life happens, it happens. Like you said, Sarah, you can flow through it so much better. And like, I know for me, like my awareness of where my mind and attention is going, I'm so much more aware of it than I ever had been before. And it's because of my yoga practice. It's because of my meditation practice. It's because of my breathwork practice, which I won't sit here. Will not lie. Those practices have been slacking lately as I've become a new mom. I don't do them as much as I used to. However, I was doing them very, very consistently, and I can still feel those benefits going through all of the stuff in the world that's happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah. If you give yourself permission to like really take this time to dive inward. So that's where I'll go with my biggest piece of advice and wisdom for working through tough situations is to get out of the head and into the body. So when I say dive inward, that's what I mean. If you let these challenges and pains be an opportunity for you to dive inward, to connect deeper to your soul, to your spirit, to your highest self, to your body, you are going to come out of this stronger and more resilient, which is going to, once again, help the world heal, because as you heal, the world heals. And we have seen proof of that. So what I want to remind you guys of is that the mind is a place of survival and only that. So as soon as the mind senses potential danger or harm, it's going to go into fight or flight. It's going to go into worry, anxiety, stress, overwhelm. What if the bad thing happens? What if the other bad thing happens? Well, then what if a bad thing happens over that? The mind is a place of survival. Worry, anxiety. I've had a lot of that in my inbox. Like, how do I stop worrying? And how do I stop freaking out about the unknown? That's all mind stuff. The only way to calm that and to create peace and calm is to get into your body. Your body is where your soul lives. Your soul, whatever you believe in, is connected to God, universe, source, higher power, universal intelligence, whatever you vibe with. Your soul's in your body. So as you get out of your head and into your body, that's what's going to help you feel more at peace and feel more calm while flowing through these massive challenges that we face in life. And it's going to make it easier to be solution oriented instead of giving into the darkness. So you have to get out of your head. You have to get into your body. It will help you cultivate inner peace. And so my favorite way to do that personally is through breath work. I've had the craziest breathwork sessions over the past week. And of course I have, because a lot's going on in our world right now. Breathwork really helps you move through pain, because no matter where you're living in the world, you're experiencing some sort of pain right now, unless you're just like in a complete state of avoidance. But I'm assuming if you're here listening, you're not.
Right.
So you are feeling some sort of pain. And a lot of us take on pain from the world as well. For me in my breathwork sessions, I've been able to feel, and okay, I want to say this very lightly, because obviously I will probably never know what it is like to go through what Ukraine is going through right now. Most likely, I probably won't ever fully understand, what they're going through, but I definitely could feel a little bit of their pain in my breathwork sessions. Like I allowed myself to feel the pain of losing a loved one. I allowed myself a lot of ancestor stuff came up. I had one of my, let's see, what would be my grandma's brothers went to war. So as I was breathing, I felt like my ancestral, and this gets like a little deeper, but like ancestor work is something that I'm starting to dive into just because it's coming up in my life a lot right now. And I felt my grandma and my great grandma's pain of having a brother and a son go off to war. Obviously that's very relevant right now because a lot of people are going off to war. So I was able to tap into a lot of pain that's been building up in my body, whether that's from ancestors or from the rest of the world, or just from the fear in my mind about what could happen to us as a society in the future. The anger that I'm feeling in my body, like, why are we here? Me specifically, I feel like I'm here to be a light worker. So for our world to be in such a dark time right now, it creates a lot of anger in my system. So through those breathwork practices, I'm able to really get out of my head and get into the body and be like, okay, what's the pain here? I can hear the thoughts. I know the thoughts. I know what the thoughts are. The thoughts are F this person and why are we here? And this sucks. And I'm so sad for these people and da. You have to allow yourself to feel those feelings, process them and release them. That'll get you into the body. And that's the only thing that's actually going to create calm and peace and a sense of we're going to find a solution. That's like literally the only way to access that. And I've been hearing from some people, well, I really try to be hopeful and optimistic, and I just feel guilty for doing it, or, I feel like I shouldn't be. And if that's the mentality you have, you're not getting into your body. I can guarantee it. Like allowing yourself to get out of the head and into the body isn't we're avoiding everything that's happening. It's not I'm avoiding the challenge. It's not I'm avoiding the pain. I'm avoiding the suffering. It's the opposite. It's I'm choosing to feel the terror and the fear that is active in my life or that's active in the world right now. I'm feeling it and I'm processing it, because as you do that, I kind of see it as, I gave my clients this example the other day. Your soul is the sunshine. Like your soul is the sunshine. It is the light that the world needs to heal and to find a solution. And the pain is like the dark, stormy clouds. And in order to access the light that we need to not only feel at peace ourselves, but to help the world, once again, like, because we can only give from that full cup. In order to access that, you have to move the clouds apart, but you're never going to move the clouds apart by staying in your head. Like that's only something that can be done in the body. And so once you do that, you're no longer coming from this, like, I feel like that's like a bit of a toxic positivity, or like what's the other word I'm looking for? Kind of like a spiritual bypassing, like, oh my God, it's fine. Like love and light, like, let's just see the light. Like everything's going to be okay. No, you need to get into the body, get out of your head into the body. You need to feel the truth of your words, because when at this point, because once upon a time I was very much so like that. But at this point, I allow myself to be in my body so deeply and so much, moving through so much of my pain and the world's pain, that I can actually feel the truth in my body of the light that's within all of us. And when I do my visualizations and when I pray for the world and when I pray for everybody involved in these situations, and even outside of this, like in my own life and challenges, I can truly feel on a deep visceral level that my light that I'm bringing to these situations is helping. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Like I kind of went off on a tangent there.
It was a good one. It was a good tangent.
But you have to get out of the head. You have to get into the body, especially if you want to. And so this is the last thing I'm going to leave everybody with, is that so I've been asking myself this question every single day. And once again, I can only answer this if I'm out of my head and into my body. If I can only feel the truth of this if I'm out of my head and into my body. And that question is, which version of me can actually help the world right now? The version of me who is stuck in my head and worry and fear and looking at the bad things and watching the news all day and dwelling, and what if the bad things happen, and what if a world war starts, and what if our economy goes to shit, and I'm scared, and I'm just gonna stop living my life because of this, like all this shit going on. That version of me, is that version of me going to help the world heal? Or is the version of me that's going to help the world heal the version that allows myself to breathe and to feel and to process pain, and of course to have awareness of what's happening in the world? And once again, even if this situation, if you're listening to this and this is not a thing anymore, in life in general, like everything I'm saying here, I do in my own life, I do with every challenge, every difficult situation I encounter. The version of me who is allowing myself to feel the heal, process, emote, have awareness, shift through my feelings, release them, tap into my inner light, and choose to believe in the power of belief and hope and humanity and all of us coming together as a collective. The answer is obvious. Like obviously that second version of me is actually going to be able to help the world. I see the first version of me that's stuck in my head, the version of me that's surrendering to, in this situation specifically, the guys or whatever, whoever's at the top of Russia, like calling the shots and telling them to move in. Like I'm not going to surrender to them. I'm not going to say, hey, sure, you guys win. And, once upon a time, I probably would have thought like, oh, I'm just one person, like who cares? But no, we are like, you are one person. I am one person. you matter, I matter. And the way that we flow through this is going to make or break what happens next in our world. Like, I really believe that how we flow through this and our consciousness in general together as a collective can make or break this entire situation. So yeah, I made that very like situation specific, but like, once again, this is with everything, every challenge, every tough challenge I have in my life. This is how I go about it: out of my head, into my body. And I ask myself that question: which version of me? The version who stays stuck in my head, or the version who's in my body connecting to my soul? Which version of me is actually going to be able to help here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. No, that's so good. I feel like I have different things to share and add, but then you ended up like covering them. So you did a really good job, like fully encompassing that. That saying I love, because it's something I say in my yoga classes a lot. If you practice with me on the app, I'm sure you've heard me say it. Let's get out of our head and into our body. And so you shared the one technique of doing breath work. That's where yoga has been such a powerful practice in my life, because that's one of the spaces where I have been able to quiet that busy, chaotic mind and really settle into whatever's happening in my body in the moment. And that's a really good way to practice that. That's also can be a really powerful way to flow through and feel the feelings that you're experiencing now. The other thing that you touched on at one point that I really loved is, I think you said like, oh, people will say like, I feel guilty for doing those things.
Yeah.
And I have felt that at times too. Like I have felt almost like that guilt where I'm like, I can just turn the news off and it's like, I'm kind of like cutting out of it, you know? And, but so I feel it's guilt. Like I need to be watching this 24/7, which is why I love that question that you said, like, which version of me can actually help? The one that's glued to the TV or my phone, like constantly reading about it and just like dwelling in that suffering, or the one that's going to like let myself feel it, let myself process through it, but continue to let my soul shine through.
Exactly.
So, you know, don't be hard on yourself, you guys listening. Like if you do feel that, but just know, like, ask yourself that question and then, and see how that feels in the body. Like, you know, it's this stuff that we're talking about in today's episode, like, is not always the easiest thing to do, but it can make a really profound difference in, you know, the impact that you have on yourself, those around you, and ultimately the world. So
totally.
Yeah, that was really
and yeah. And like one last little remark on the suffering thing. Suffering is thinking about the problem. Like if you stay in your head thinking about the problems and the challenges that you face in life, that's suffering. And the version of you who suffers can't really do much good for yourself or anybody else. So once again, that's why we have to get into the bodies, because suffering is thinking about the problem, but being in the body is allowing yourself to feel through the problem. Like every time you start to, I'm inviting you guys, this will be your invitation for the next week, 2 weeks, months, whatever, like however long this is active. And honestly, with every single challenge in your life for the rest of your life, my invitation to you is when you hear the thoughts of worry, the thoughts of fear, the thoughts of doubt, drop into your body and see what's happening. Like, what does that thought feel like in your body? And then feel it. That's what's going to help you process it and release it. Like, does it feel tight? Does it feel like contraction? Does it feel like you need to scream, punch pillows, cry, wrap up in a blanket and just lie there in sadness? Like, feel the emotion, feel the feels. That's what's going to help you process and move the clouds out of the way so that your purest sunshine, not the fake sunshine in the head, but the pure sunshine can shine through and help the world heal. And you along the way too. Obviously, like, you're really important in this as well. So yeah, that's what's on our hearts today. And yeah, like Mary said, like this stuff is not easy to talk about, but that's why we're here, like to have these conversations. They need to be had. We need to have these conversations even when they're hard. And I'm sure you guys can feel our attentions, but I just want to throw it out there. We're not perfect. We don't have all the answers. We are learning every single day. Mary and I both are so open-minded when things like this happen, and we are open to hearing where we're missing the point or where maybe you differ, where you think something different. If you guys want to have conversations about anything we said, please reach out to us in our DMs. We are here for that. We are still learning, but we really wanted to talk about what was on our hearts because we're here to be real and raw with y'all. And ooh, that rhymed.
Well, and I just, yeah, like you said, it would not have felt aligned to come here and talk about like all
anything
the happy-go-lucky stuff that we
literally anything
like to talk about. So
yeah,
you know, it's part of life, and you guys are all in this together. Like Sarah said, you know, we're navigating it too. We're definitely not perfect. I mean, these are conversations that I have been having behind the scenes with the people that I'm closest with. And therefore we wanted to bring this conversation as it is today to you guys now. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys for listening. Like Sarah said, our DMs are always open. So feel free to send us a message. If you feel inspired to. You can also connect with us on Facebook at Her Vibe is Pretty Podcast, as well as the Her Vibe is Pretty Podcast Instagram page, or of course our own personal Instagram pages. But we love you guys, and just a big giant hug to each and every one of you. You're doing an amazing job, and we love you so much. So we'll catch you next time on Her Vibe is Pretty. Bye.